Perfect. So one, we get to introduce our beautiful sister, Robin Cotè, to the world. Robin, this is the world, and we get to share our beautiful journey together, how we met, how the intention stick has impacted your life and your journey, and all the beautiful souls that, wow, have come into our lives and your lives, and this is about you today, and we are honored to be here with you. Right, I'm just so excited. We're so connected, it's ridiculous. That's why I'm like
He's always so giddy. That's what I love about him. And I really miss your presence in my studio all the time. So you need to come down a little bit more often and say hi to me, especially when we can get past this no hugging thing, because your hugs, you have no idea how much those hugs
oh,
envelop people. When we hug you and you hug us, it's
mm,
powerful. And Marla knows because she sees how you are around people. She's the same exact way. And I feel so honored to know both of you and to be part of your movement and what you're doing in our world today, because it's so very important. People don't even realize how connected we truly are.
oh, I love that. And yes, as Marla teased me and said, this corona, this COVID was because of me, of the overhugger crybaby, and
Oh.
he said it was about me not being able to give hugs for a couple months. I'm like, it's not going to stop me.
Hey, hugs are the best medicine in the world, and we tend to forget that sometimes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well said.
Oh, I love that, Robin, because you're right. It's that, not only that heart to heart hug, but it's also that soul to soul connection when we do get that beautiful embrace, whether it's for a moment or every day or whenever we come into someone's beautiful path. So this is about you, girl. You get to share. We can't wait to hear, because it's normally the opposite.
Oh my
Robin,
God.
tell us your journey, where and what you've been up to, and then lead us to how we connected.
My gosh, my journey. Well, going way back, I don't know how far we want to go back and touch on that, but I've been through a lot of experiences in my life that when you really look at the scope of things, I've often wondered how one person can endure so much, but I'm often reminded that there's many other people who have gone through a lot more than I have and still come out the other side being a better person. So I've gone through numerous experiences, everything from domestic violence to losing a child to a lot of death in my younger years. And I wasn't sure how to pull through all that. And I wasn't sure where to draw my inspiration from. I tried so hard to believe in my faith to get me through every day. And I'm not necessarily talking my religious faith, because at that time we were raised non-denominational. So I really didn't have a place to figure things out. And I started searching deep within me. I knew at that point I had a kid that relied on me. My son was still with me. I had lost my daughter, but my son was still with me. And I just kept thinking, how do I get through this? How do I keep going when the world feels like it's against me? And I just dug as deep as I could. And I just kept saying, hey, God, if you're listening to me, just give me some sort of strength. Give me a sign to tell me how to keep moving forward. And we don't realize the resiliency we have as human beings. Our spirit and our soul is so very strong within us. That's part of who we are. That's our inner force. And all those years, I never realized how strong I was, because I relied on the strength of just being there every day to get my son to where he's supposed to be, point A to point B. That's what I relied on. So through my son and raising him, that taught me how to find my strength. And as I've gotten older, I've learned just how powerful we are. And we're not, I've learned, I've had to unlearn a lot of things, let's put it that way. And I've come to learn that we're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're actually spiritual beings having a human experience. And we're all brought together as one. You hear this in church growing up, that you're brothers and sisters of God. A lot of times you don't understand that. But as you get older and you find more like-minded people, you tend to grasp a hold of what that means. And what you guys are doing with this movement is right along the lines of that. And I just remember, I've been working in radio and television for over 32 years, and working at the network is how I initially ran into you guys. You were right next door to our suite. And this bubbly guy comes walking in one day, bouncing off the roofs. And I'm like, who is this? You know, I had no idea who he was.
Mm-mm.
And I didn't meet you until later, Marla. But when Scott came walking in, there's just something about him. And you have that same thing. But when you're sitting in a studio full of people, I didn't know if he was a show host. I didn't know if he was a guest walking in for the first time. But I'm just like, okay, I got to know this guy. And he's one of those type of people that even though you think you got to know him, he's going to know you first
Mm.
because he's a bouncing ball of energy. And I immediately felt this connection. You recognize souls. You recognize souls, whether it be from a prior lifetime, whether it be somebody who looks so familiar to you because of your own belief system. And that's kind of the beauty of this whole oneness thing is you could be from far reaches of the earth. You could be from every religious background. You could be from, you know, every different language possible, different sexes, whatever. But we're all one. There is unity in all of us. We're all one. And that, you know, that's something so powerful that I never really got the gist of until, I don't know, within the last decade, because of so many things that needed to fall off of me and out of my life in order to be open and receptive enough to it. Because when you have, I call them non-believers, when you have non-believers that are the primary focus in your life, you have a hard time being able to vocalize this kind of stuff. But when you get around certain people that understand this oneness, this ability to be something far greater than what we are, and to be part of something that's far greater than anything you could ever imagine, you find those type of people, you feel like you belong, and it's that common understanding. And where my journey has come to now, I've actually written 2 books, and I recently published one just back in March that has to do with kind of like what we're talking about, this oneness, being in the frame of mind of understanding that there's something far greater out there. And don't be afraid, don't have fear of it, embrace it, love it, appreciate it, because there's this kindness and this gratitude. There's this big, huge thing that is much bigger than us that we can, it's hard to explain sometimes. You guys know,
Yes.
sometimes when you go into some place where there's somebody brand new that might not quite understand it, how do you express it? And I'm finally at that place where I'm going to say it out loud. I don't care who wants to listen to it or not. I'm very happy with being one with what's going on, because there's something so powerful behind that. And we don't really have to do anything except just open our mind to it and understand that it is something far greater than we can even understand sometimes. And meeting you guys, my God, you know, this thing right here, the intention stick, you know, I'm sitting there in my studio and this beautiful man comes in, all smiles and hugs and everything, and he finally gifts me the intention stick. I had no clue what it was at first, and then he explained it, explained how we do with the words, and did even something greater, did a blessing. We did a group blessing with it. And it was so beautiful. And you never realize the power of intention. You hear some of the great leaders in our world, some of our great spiritual leaders, even these guys who stand up there and do speaking about stuff, just your motivational speakers. They talk about living with intention. And we have to be so very careful about the words we speak out loud to not only others, but to ourselves and about ourselves, because we're living with intention with every breath we take, with every word that we speak. And this right here is so powerful, because sometimes you forget that you're carrying it. You know, I wear this thing night and day. The only time it comes off my neck is when I'm in the shower, because I don't want to ruin it. It's a beautiful gift that you guys created for the world.
Oh.
And I don't know if you want me to keep talking, if you want me to share.
Yes.
You want me to share, you want me to share what I did today?
Yes.
Yes.
I haven't changed my words in a while.
Oh.
And
By the
I,
way, I'm going to give you a little secret. So
Uh-huh.
Marla and I had seen that yes, of course you can take it off when you shower, go swimming, but the words are waterproof. So you
Really?
never, but people do take them off to shower, to swim, but some people never take them off.
I
And the
did
worst
not know
case
that.
scenario is some water gets inside, because we wanted to make this a pure vessel, a mirror image of ourselves. So it is.
Robin, before you go on with the words, can you explain the process to someone who may not have an intention stick, meaning how you insert the words or take them out and maybe change them as you're starting to explain? Can you go through that?
You want me to take it off?
Oh, not necessarily, but just explain what you did, like the step-by-step process.
Well, there's a lot of words to choose from. And, you know, I try to pick something that meant something to me. And I'm always putting 3 words in there because I know we shouldn't really put more than 3. And 3 is my magic number. And I will tell you this, there's a heart that I wear around my neck, and it's actually an urn. My late husband's ashes are in it. So these are side by side every day.
Mm.
And our magic number was 3. He always, when he visits me, he does things in 3 until I say, okay, I know you're there, I've had enough, that's it, you can stop that now. So I've always put 3 words in here, and I look at those words, and I haven't changed the words in the last 6 months because I was at a place back in December when things were changing for me. And I had a very good friend of mine, Kirk, who pointed out to me, he goes, Robin, you know, for the first time since I've known you, you finally showed that you really love yourself. You're finally coming into your own with this self-love. You finally showed that. So in December, I changed the words to the 3 words that I felt at that time.
What were they?
And
I love it. If you don't mind sharing, I love.
no, not at all. They were happiness,
Mm,
gratitude, and success.
mm, beautiful.
So those were 3 words that I put in there because at that point I was transitioning into this person who was accepting myself 100%. And I had never felt so much inner peace at that point in December. I had finally been able to heal pretty much everything, that all the traumas I've ever had. I finally came to terms with a lot of things and was able to finally get to that healing point where I could move beyond certain things and just say, okay, I accept this. I accept myself 100% unconditionally.
Yeah.
There's nothing about me that I don't love. So I chose those 3 words to move beyond where I was at prior to that. And to be honest, I can't even remember the 3 words I had in there prior. I just knew at that moment I had to change. But, you know, this morning,
I remember, by the way,
do you?
one was trust. Because
Yeah,
we always say if we don't trust the journey, nothing else matters, right?
right.
One that was, because again, no, we talk quite often, and again, we always, again, no coincidences. I show up because I was guided and I'm listening to the message, and just Robin needs a hug. Robin needs whatever that may be, a visit. And the one we talked about, which you did do, was the be, let it be, the
Yeah,
forgiveness. That was one of the very first ones. And I think the if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong,
love.
Love.
it was love.
I'm
It
whispering
was.
love, and
I know.
remember.
No, I was waiting to see it, and it was love, because you had to learn to truly love who you are, and
Yeah,
all those intentions you did, you manifested, you achieved, you became, and you didn't need them any longer. And exactly where it brought you in December to choose your new set of 3 words for the next part of your journey and what you needed in your life that moment or for that time until you achieve that, which is again success and gratitude. And what was the third?
happiness,
Happiness.
just overall happiness. And the funny thing is you don't even realize when you're putting these words in there and speaking these intentions every day, you don't realize that it's more about how you're feeling about yourself. You're thinking of it more as a one for everyone else, but you exemplify that outwards. Once you start feeling that inwards, then it starts pulsating outwards to the rest of the world. And that's why this morning, which was really funny, I knew we were doing this today.
I can't wait.
And when I got out of the shower, I went to put it back on and I stopped myself. And I said, it's time to readdress what's in there. So I opened it back up and I only changed out one word, which I thought was really kind of funny because of a situation I had last week. But the word that I changed out was success, and I put mindful
Mm.
because I had a situation surface last week where I really wanted to protect somebody I loved, but overprotectiveness, you can't really do that. Sometimes you have to understand that you have to be mindful of the situation, and you can be on the standby to help,
Mhm.
but sometimes you have to let that person go through a certain circumstance in order to find their own way through that part of the journey so that they understand this was something that was meant to happen. It's not my place to interfere. As much as I thought I was being protective, I have to understand to practice mindfulness because their journey is just as important, and I can't interrupt that. As much as I want to protect, sometimes I have to allow things to happen the way that they're unfolding in order to understand that that's part of each of our journeys. So to add mindful in there now, it really hit home with me this morning when I went through the words, and that one just, it was like a shot to my soul. And I started, you could see the emotions. It just, I was like being reminded that yes, you need to understand that everybody's journey is exactly what it is. It doesn't mean you abandon them in their journey because they do need your support, but you back up just a little bit and give them enough room to breathe so that they can practice and get better at their own journey and understand that yes, they are strong enough to make it through, and someone's always going to be waiting with a life preserver on the side for them if they need it. But you can't rescue everybody. It's not your responsibility to rescue people, but it is your responsibility to yourself to practice mindfulness and see the big picture, to be there to support one another. And that's why I love what you guys do, because the Tree of Life movement, this whole thing is exactly that. It's about practicing mindfulness and understanding the journey, but it's also being supportive of one another and understanding that we are one in this journey. We are one because that's the one thing that does transcend the worlds that I've learned is love. That is the only thing that transcends the world. The pain, all the heartache, that stuff doesn't go with us when we leave this planet and go to the other side. What stays with us is our heart. What stays with us is the love that we carry from this lifetime to every lifetime. That's what stays with us.
Wow. Robin, and I don't even want to jump over beautiful comments and some statements you made were really incredible and powerful. And I think actually what you just said, we can apply it to parents, because I know I have bumped into people along the way that we've known for years. And, you know, when I ask, how are you and how are your kids? And, oh, my kid's going to be playing baseball and he's going to be on this team and he's going to be drafted by the time he's 18. And I'm like, oh, is that what he wants? And I don't care. I don't care what he wants. So my point is about the mindfulness, that we have to step out of the way, in the sense that, yes, we have to help our children and guide them, or our friends, our family members. We can be there for them, like you said, and guide them, but we cannot interrupt their journey. It is not for us to interrupt their journey, nor can we interrupt our own, you know? And so I think it's a really good lesson for so many of us, because I know even through the years, that was something that I struggled with. And I realized that it's not my journey, right? That everyone needs to figure it out, because even what we perceive as bad, meaning lessons along the way, or people might label them as failures, they're not failures. They're just lessons for our growth, for our experience, to make us understand what it is that we need to understand while we're here in this lifetime. As you said, we're having a spiritual experience, and that's what we need to expand upon. and know that it's okay if someone gets a bump and a bruise along the way, because it's for their growth, not for us to stop that. So I
Right.
just love that you express that. So true.
Yeah, and we have to just be there and hold that space for that person, whether it's a family member or a friend, right? And
Yes.
everything, Robin, I know Marla and I, you have had this conversation before, everything always works out for us, right?
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
we tend, I'm not talking about just us, the world, if we can just get out of our own way, right?
Yep. Yep.
And watch the miracles unfold. But yes, you said it so beautifully. You're holding that space for that person. They're receiving the mindfulness or the love or the kindness or the gratitude that is coming from your heart, regardless if you agree or disagree. It doesn't matter. They're still receiving what they need to continue their journey. And that's what we all have to remember, because as you just said, absolutely, we talk about this every day. It starts from within ourselves to make sure we have everything we need to be the best versions of who we are. So then we can help those that may be struggling or going through something maybe much more difficult. And that is oozing or emanating from our hearts within not just a mile radius, but we're seeing it reach the other side of the world. And that's what we have to do for everyone. Put out that love, that mindfulness, that kindness, that love, that gratitude, because that vibration is being felt everywhere. And that's why we're
Yeah.
here right now.
There's a huge awakening going on right now, which is something so phenomenal. I mean, I'm sure you guys notice this, because before, as long as I've been around, I've not seen the kind of awakening that we have going on now. And it's so powerful, the amazing things that are happening. And there's a lot of people struggling right now. They're looking for lifelines, but I see so many people reaching out and talking about certain subject matters that were woo woo or no one would talk about before. People are becoming more open about it and
Yeah.
more accepting to it. And it's not something I'm used to, because you know, I'm used to, like my ex-husband was always like this: don't you talk about those kind of things, that's bad, that's bad juju. And now I find myself just having conversations with total strangers out of nowhere, and it's like energy is attracting like energy,
Yes.
just like you, Scott. Everywhere you go, you're bouncing off the walls, and I'm looking at you going, I need me some of that. I mean, if you could bottle that, my friend, and pass it
Well,
around to the rest of the world.
we bottled it, girl. And
Well, sort of, huh?
and that's so correct. That energy, that love, the bouncing off of the walls. And again, listen, we're still tested. We still have the challenges, the obstacles, but again, it still allows us to grow. But that energy and the bouncing is what we should be sparing. We should be sharing with everyone, because you affect that person when you walk into a room. And you and I have talked about this with Marla many times, that you've walked into a room and you're like, ooh, I need to go say hi to those people. Or you're like, oh, I need to stay the heck away, because that's the energy that either we're putting out or that person is putting out, that is drawing those, as you said, like-minded, beautiful souls, and continuing, no coincidences. We're now all being guided to experiencing these things, or talking about the things that we were never taught. And it's in a time that is so needed, because as you just said, everyone in this world is going through something, and we're here to ask, how are you? And listen and be present, and help that soul. It's, again, we say, not on our watch. We're here to touch as many souls as we can in this lifetime. And it's not about us, it's about us collectively. But as you said, it's for the children, the grandchildren, the great grandchildren to grow up knowing these things, to live a life of intention.
Yes. And it's funny that you should mention collectively, because I don't know if you can even see this, but I have what I call the collective, and it's my movers, shakers, and difference makers, as part of a group of people that are, they're part of my show. Plus, they're also people in the universe doing things. So the next time I see you guys, you got fans coming your way because you're part of the greater collective. And that's what it is. There's such a huge part of this collective that's just banding together to help, to just be there. And I think the biggest thing is human beings that we forget is we were given 2 ears and 1 mouth by God. So sometimes we just need to be quiet and listen. And a lot of times we're focusing on our responses to what people say as opposed to actually listening and hearing what they're saying. And I think now we're starting to get back to that because a lot of people have been in isolation and they've been doing similar things like this, Zoom meetings and conference calls where we're in our own space, but yet we have up to 20 people at one time on one of these meetings, and we're trying to figure out how we can listen and communicate effectively. So I think there's new things that are happening now in our world that are changing the dynamic because we're so used to responding all the time as opposed to actually listening. And now I see more people actually listening and waiting to respond. And sometimes it's not even necessary to respond. Sometimes all you need to do is just sit in silence and let that other person talk.
Yes. Oh,
Mm-hmm. Very true.
so beautiful. We were just talking about this morning. And
We're
it's,
into
you
we're
said
gotta
it's
go here.
being present, being in the now, right? Think of the word present. It's exactly that. It's a gift. And being there at that moment, understanding the miracle taking place, and stop worrying about 5 minutes ago or 5 minutes from now, because as this world was programmed to rush and I have to, and we at next meeting, they're not even understanding what's taking place. And as you said, this, as Marla and I share, this gift that this world has received has allowed everyone to slow down and be present, but to look for the answer from within versus the external, right? They always think I'm going to get my happiness because I need that and that and that, or I think I need to be doing this. No, everything we need is right inside. And again, we have to trust that because we have been programmed not to. And
it's the soul to soul connection. The happiness is truly helping someone else, serving and uplifting, inspiring, making sure that someone else feels acknowledged, making sure that someone else feels as though they matter, making sure that that person feels loved, and remind them to love themselves. And I think that's what it comes down to, is when we understand these gifts and everything that we just talked about, is to use those to inspire someone else to then do the same thing for someone else, right? And that's the collective.
Right, because what affects you affects us. What affects that person affects that person. And I know Marla and I have shared this with you, but it says in the Talmud, when we save one soul, we save the world entirely. And
Well, it's a domino effect.
yes, the Fibonacci. Marla's one of Marla's visions over 4 years ago, that this coming from pure love and pure intention would sweep the world like a beautiful tsunami. That everyone in the world would be wearing one in every language and in Braille, and we would all insert the word oneness at the same time. Because
Oh my God, that would be so cool.
I know we don't need to die or transition to go to heaven. It's all around us. It's wherever we are, but it's also within all of us. And we have to see the good within everyone. It's there. It's just covered up with all the programming. Remember, sheep in the herd. And that goodness is there no matter what. Because if we can look at someone and say, I don't like this about you or you or you, sometimes we don't realize it's like us reflecting in a mirror of the things we don't like about ourselves.
Absolutely,
So we have to
projection.
see the good in everyone. And we do, and we're not judged. Who are we to look at someone else and judge? So just as you said, no matter what, regardless if we speak the words, what we put out from our hearts and what we send to those people that may be going through something, it's being received whether they know it or not, and it's all good.
And that, we have to, one of the situations that I dealt with recently that had to do with the mindfulness, I learned a new lesson in compassion as well, because sometimes people do things from the very wrong place. And even though we feel like they're attacking us, they're really not. Like you said, it's a mirror. They're projecting things onto us because they're too afraid to look in the mirror and deal with what's going on inside. Or sometimes it's so far suppressed they don't even know what's going on. So we feel like we're being attacked, but it's really not us. And that's where we as human beings have to learn compassion for somebody,
Yeah.
because some of us who have worked out all of our issues and gotten to a better place, it doesn't mean that that person is a bad person. It just means that that person is stuck where they're at, and maybe they don't know how to work out those issues. But again, it's not up to us to save everybody, and they have to learn how to work through those issues themselves. And we as people have to pull back and away from that kind of negativity, because if we get sucked into that,
Yeah.
then we tend to get into that negative frame of mind and it starts to affect us. And last year was a huge transition year for me all the way around from January to December. I
Yeah.
had several incidences that put me right in that place, and I could have went one way or the other, and I really had to sit down and dig deep inside myself and say, well, what is going on here? And I tell you, only from my perspective, and I know this is very true, the hardest thing that we human beings have to do is love ourselves. That is one of the hardest things, is self-love. But if we can get to a point where we love ourselves unconditionally and accept that we can make mistakes and we can work through things in our time, and that we're not infallible, we're going to fail, but that's part of life's lessons, that's part of growth, that's part of what we take with us throughout our lifetime. But if we understand that we're human beings and it's okay to fail once in a while, and just don't live there, don't beat yourself up consistently, understand that you're going to move beyond this, you're going to get to a better place, and you can be happy inside and out. Take each day, take each moment, stop looking at the past. It's done. You can't change it. Don't worry about the future down the road. It's not here yet. Live right now.
Yeah.
Do the best you can every second, every minute, every hour of every day, and live for the moment, because that's where we're at. That's what we have to concentrate on. You can't change what's happened, and you can't have, I mean, you can have goals for the future. Everybody sets a goal, but don't get angry at yourself. Don't do that. Just live for the moment and appreciate. My biggest thing, I go outside, I walk and look at the beautiful things in nature. I have a bird that wakes me up at 5:30 every morning, and he can be a real pain in the butt because the sun will come in my window and there's no going back to sleep. But then I sit there for a minute after I get that little tinge of, doggone it, man, you woke me up and I wasn't ready to wake up. I go, okay, you're happy today, dude. So I guess I should be happy too. You're singing and I can hear you. I can see daylight coming through my window. I'm just going to lie in this bed for another hour because it feels good,
I think we were
right?
separated at birth.
Amazing.
I think we were all separated at birth because we speak each other's words, and it's just absolutely verbatim. And I love that, how connected we all are. And we all are. Again, we just have to, again, brush all the stuff over the heart and soul and let that shine from every one of our brothers and sisters in this world. And it's there. And as you said earlier, everyone is just thirsting it, that spirituality, that love, that happiness. And what just brought me back to what we were talking about earlier is that this reset button was hit hard because it's allowing others now to maybe do what they've always wanted to do, but they were afraid because they were
True.
programmed to think they needed to do this, this, and this. And they were making everyone around them happy, and they were miserable. So
Yes.
this gift is allowing so many to really do what they want to do, which we know is helping one another. It's not saying
Exactly.
quit your job and become a nun, a priest, a rabbi, a guru. No, but just do the things that truly make you. When I say you, I'm talking about the world.
The whole world.
Make
Yeah.
you happy. Do what makes your heart and soul sing and shine. And this is the opportunity to, I love the validation. This is the opportunity to do that, regardless if you've been doing something your whole life. But if you were doing something your whole life and you weren't happy, nothing is ever too late. Take that
No.
leap of faith, trust this, and know you're always being guided. And let go of those reins, because yes, this whole world falls under the umbrella of fear. But when we can fall under the umbrella of love and trust, wow,
Yeah, I think
That-
it's hard. I think it's hard for humanity or humankind to self-love, and we want to help shift that. Like Scott said, this virus, if you want to look at it as a gift because it's given us the opportunity to get to know yourself, to connect with the oneness. But I think it's quite difficult because through the years as a child, um, we're taught different things. We're taught to think how we're supposed to think about ourselves, meaning, that I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, those kinds of thoughts. And so what happens is that they become stuck in our mind. And when they're stuck in the mind, we believe them. We believe those things about ourselves, and it's very hard to love yourself when that's what we repeat over and over to ourselves.
Yes.
So one of the exercises that I love to do myself when I find myself in that space or that place, now not so much because I've done this exercise for so long, is to possibly look at pictures of yourself, your younger self,
Yes.
from either childhood, adolescence, or maybe a little bit even older. But look at those different photographs, because our soul is the same soul. Our soul doesn't change. Our physical appearance changes, yes, but not our soul. It's still the same experience all along. And so if you can go back to that child, whatever age that maybe you have a memory that's stuck with you, go there and talk to that inner child.
Yes.
And really share your feelings, whether you're going to be okay, or you are amazing, you are beautiful, you are smart, whatever you need to hear, and practice that. Because as an adult, we think that maybe what happened to us as a kid, or that thought that was put into our mind, no big deal. But really, it sits there. It sits there, and we ignore it. We push it down, just like you said. We push it down, and we want to put it aside. But what happens is it creates who we are in the adult life, right? And so that's where it's hard to self-love, because we're not taught to look in the mirror and say, I love you to yourself. And we're not only to look in the mirror and say, love you to yourself, but put your name in front of it. That's an even harder thing to do. But I guarantee when you can let go of the pain that you've carried through since you were a little kid, a lot of that will dissolve.
Yes.
That's very true. And I do every once in a while I posted up about this side by side, and I had a young girl last week in my studio bring this up to me, and she said, you look really amazing for your age. And here she was, like 19 years old, complaining about wrinkles and everything and talking about Botox. I'm like, honey, you don't want to inject that stuff in your face. I said, you haven't even fully formed in your life yet. I said, let me give you a little secret. I said, if you're not happy inside, or you're going through stressful situations, that's when it reflects on your face. And I showed her a side by side. And 5 years ago in April, I ended a very toxic marriage. And not even a couple of months after that marriage ended, I did a photo shoot for domestic violence survivors. And I had done a photo shoot 6 months before my marriage ended. That was with professional photographers. That was, my top of the line photographers. And I thought the pictures looked good at the time. But then I compared it with the side by side version of me, 4 or 5 months out of this toxic relationship. And I looked 10 years younger getting out of that toxic relationship. I've never had anything done as far as any type of procedures, but I got back 10 years of my life, and it showed on my face by walking out of something that was not healthy for me. And whether it's a job, a toxic relationship, toxic friendships, a lot of times we want to be loved so bad, or we can't leave a job because we're stuck. We feel like we're stuck, but we see these things when we look on our faces in the mirror. We don't even realize, but when we get out of it, we could see the difference. And I put these pictures side by side to remind myself not even what a year can do. We have no idea. A year is 365 days. Within 5 months, my whole life changed. And I could see that as a reflection on my face. You know, I didn't even look at the rest of my body at that point. But when I was in that relationship, I developed a very horrible cough, and the doctors couldn't pinpoint what was going on with me. They thought I might have been asthmatic. I grew up in Arizona. I've never had any type of issues, but every night before I would go to bed, I had these horrific coughing seizures. Like I was like coughing up a lung, and I wasn't smoking. I was doing nothing. It's pretty healthy. And I couldn't understand why I was coughing so bad. But the minute that that relationship was done and he was quote unquote out of my atmosphere, that cough was gone. And the doctors had no reason for that. It was like I was cured. And we don't realize how much stress we put on our bodies internally by things that are going on in our lives, and emotion, every type of emotion we go through. Um, Even love sometimes can drive us crazy and cause physical manifestations. I mean, we're around somebody that we're in love with, and our heart flutters and our body goes crazy, and we can't live without them. You too. You're a perfect example of that. I see it when I'm around you guys. I don't think you guys could ever live without each other in this world, because you have that simpatico type of relationship. I'm sure you drive each other crazy. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
Marla does call you the
I
fifth
drive her
kid, right?
crazy. I know that.
Yeah. So I mean, but that's what we're all looking for, is that inner peace ground. And sometimes we don't even realize that the physical manifestations that are going on in our own bodies, that we're creating this because we're not dealing with what's happening to us. And all these things changed for me 5 years ago, walking away from that horrific relationship of being verbally beaten down every day, and coming from the background that I've been in. How could I put myself back in that situation again? I didn't know, because I believed in love. We can't help who we fall in love with. So I believed in love, and I tried it again, but I wasn't with the right person. It doesn't mean that I won't find that again. It doesn't mean that we won't find that again no matter what. I had the perfect love, but my husband died. But that doesn't mean that things can't change. Everything can change. That's what we have free will for. Everything can change. We have the ability to make choices. And you said it perfectly, Scott, with this whole quarantine and people losing their jobs. We don't realize when we're speaking things consistently every day. I hate my job. I wish I could find a better job. I don't know how to leave my job. If we're saying these things consistently every day, the universe is going to hear it, and the universe is going to provide for you. It may not be in the way you think. I said this 7 years ago. For 2 years straight, I said, I want a vacation from my life. I want a vacation from my life. I wasn't happy working at home, running a business with this man. I wasn't happy with my life. I said it every day. I swear to God, I'm sitting in my home office. I want a vacation from my life. I need a vacation from my life. After saying it for so long, the universe gifted me with that vacation from my life. I sold a house, filed for divorce, and shut a business down, was unemployed for 2 years, not knowing what to do. But that was the best thing that ever happened to me, because my whole life changed for the better. And now here I am, feeling like I'm part of something greater, because for 11 years, I couldn't talk about my spirituality. I couldn't talk about being one with the universe. I couldn't talk about all this beautiful stuff I had just started learning when my husband died in 2001. When 2003 came around, meeting this new man, I had to shut it down. I wasn't allowed to have that part of me. So the universe gave that back. And my God, it's been the best 5 years of my life since. Just the people I've had gravitate towards me, you guys gravitate towards me. And even though you're up on a higher floor, Scott, you still need to come down more often when this is all over with and give me hugs, because I'm missing out on that. And this elbow tapping stuff,
I know.
you
I
know,
tell Marla, because Robin knows, but I said, I'm giving you a big hug, but
yes, I know.
Alba, and
Give her the elbow.
I do. She
I
knows.
know.
But
I know.
you're with us every day, and wow.
Oh, I feel your energy coming down from that top floor,
Oh,
buddy. I feel it coming down.
I
And
know.
then here you show up in my studio.
I know you do, and I think thank you for sharing what you just shared, and how just I know, Marla, every hair on my body's standing up, because Robin, this message that you're sharing right now is so powerful, so profound to not just all the women around the world that may be
Yeah,
going
sure.
through something
Right.
toxic or abusive, but the
Yeah.
men as well, to look from within and have that courage to take that leap of faith like you did, because it was all coming from the umbrella of fear. And
Sure.
literally your journey since then has just taken off. And in the 2 years that I know it's longer, but since you've come into our lives, watch Marla and I watching you, and just everything just going exactly the way it should. You deserve
Yeah.
it because you're blessed and you've worked hard and you let go and you forgave and you filled yourself up with love and success and everything you need to share with the rest of the world. And so someone that's listening, or this message that's being received to you, trust this, take that leap of faith, and do what's going to make you happy, because you deserve that. And
Yeah,
you
you
exactly
have to believe in the journey.
Mm-hmm. You have to believe in the journey. And,
Yeah.
you know, words are very powerful, right?
Yeah.
And as you said, the universe hears the words, they hear what we speak. And it's the old adage, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. Because if you don't speak your intentions clearly, you will get them in the way you never expect. And, I see that happening a lot now with a lot of people losing their jobs because human beings complain. That's just a part of the process.
right.
And we say things, sometimes we're not careful even about the way we talk about ourselves. And I'm being reminded now. I have friends that will remind me, hey, watch what you're saying about yourself. I'm like, oh my God, I did it again, because I'm used to joking about myself. That's what I do. But they're being very mindful of that now. And they're kind of like, Robin, shame on you. You know better than that. Don't say those things about yourself. I'm like, oh God, I can't even joke anymore. This is so funny. I'm learning at my age that I'm not supposed to say that about myself. But
Right.
it's
We have to we have to go on a diet of complaining. We have to purge ourselves
That's
of
great.
that. Um,
And I have corrected you many times with love, though.
yes, I know, and it's
That's
just
what big brothers are for.
it's oh, seriously, don't even make me cry. I'm still trying to hold back my tears from earlier.
Uh,
Man,
that,
I get a runny nose, dude. That's when I'm wiping my nose, trying to keep the
uh,
tears back.
but we are
Man,
family, and we love you so much, and everything that is happening for you, you deserve, you worked for, and it's what's coming now out of your heart and soul. It's always been there, but now it's just shining for the world to see. And this, like I said, this beautiful conversation we're having today, I and Marla only wanted to reach every man and woman in this world that may be going through something similar that you've gone through, and let these beautiful souls know that it's going to be okay.
it is. Yeah,
And
it is.
and how would you share for someone like Marla? I know it started, but us squirrel, we go full circle. But how would you say to any man or woman right now watching this to use this, how they can use the intention stick in their life, and how it helped you and what it would do for them?
First of all, I have to say, you matter. And don't forget that, because we tend to forget that we actually matter. Even if we don't think we have people around us and we feel alone, we're really not alone. There's so many others out there who have experienced similar things. And I know I'm not alone in this. I know there's a lot of people out there that understand. We can relate to one another because we've had similar experiences. Everybody's experience is very unique to them. How they feel about it, how they deal with it is unique to them. But the power of words means everything. How you talk about yourself, how you look at yourself, and it all starts with a word. It all starts with a powerful word that you can speak. And the fact that I hadn't even thought of changing the words in this till this morning, taking it off and putting it back on. and before I did that, in changing out success, because I achieve success in a way that is important to me. It isn't about being well known. It isn't about padding the pocketbook, because God knows people in radio don't really get that, which is okay. I'm good with that because I love what I do. So that's important. But being able to share experiences with others and explain to them that they are not alone, even when they feel like they are, that's when the words are so important. So putting mindful in here this morning, swapping out success for mindful, really struck a chord with me, because I didn't know what I was changing out the word for. But as soon as I saw the word mindful, I'm like, okay, remember that thing that happened this past week and a half, 2 weeks? You are practicing mindfulness now. You need to understand moving forward that that is the most important thing you can do, not just for yourself, but for those who surround you and for humanity in general, because I never had anybody to rescue me. I went through a lot of what I went through by myself. I had parents who didn't get it. I had parents who weren't really the support system I needed. I had siblings that weren't there for me in the way that I felt they should have been. The big brother, like you, Scott. I love that. Oh my God. And we don't realize just how important the right word at the right time is. And the cool thing about that this morning was seeing the word mindful. And the only word I could swap out was successful, because in my feeling, I'm successful because I know that I can reach people with the platforms that I have. And I feel good about that, knowing that even when you don't think somebody is watching or listening, there's at least one person out there that is seeing, hearing, paying attention to what you're saying. And at any given time, that's when the words can make a difference. The right word spoken at the right time in a life or death situation can make all the difference. And just changing out that word this morning really made me feel so good inside, because it makes me understand that I'm in a much different place now, and that mindfulness is something I have to really, really practice, because it's important to let people know you are there for them, but it is also important to let them go through the journey and not interrupt it to where you're creating more havoc. And like you said earlier, Marla, that's their journey. We can stand right by the side and say, I'm here with you. I've got you. I've got your back. But I'm not going to interfere unless you need me to. I will not interfere unless you need me to grab you off that ledge. I'm right there standing by you, and I will keep you from falling off that ledge. And that's how important the words are, especially in this little cylinder that I wear around my neck every day. And every time, you guys, every time in the studio, when I see the three numbers, or even 11, 11, 10, 10, 12, 12, 1, 11, anytime I see that, I do two things. I thank Source and Spirit for all the beautiful things that they've shown me and everything that's happening. And I grab both of these. I kiss the heart that has my husband's ashes, and I tell him I love him. And I kiss this and I say, peace to the world. So that's
I
how
know.
I feel about it.
Oh my goodness, Robin. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for these tears of joy and happiness and love. And you are so loved, and you are family. And truly, you know, you're never alone, just like anyone else in this world. You're never alone. We are
No,
all
our angels
here.
are always with us.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
again, we're talking about those beautiful things. And this is our first fun Zoom call, because I know we're going to be sharing so much more with all of our brothers and sisters. And thank you for sharing your heart and your soul for everyone to see. And we love you. And we're
It's easy with
blessed.
you guys. I love you too.
We do love
Yeah.
you, and we honor you, and so proud of the soul that you are and the being that you are, and that you are using your platform, your truth, to touch as many souls as you can. And again, that's what this is about, is to share this message. And so for that, we are grateful beyond, and we feel you from across.
Oh yeah. Just look at my cheeks. I'm beaming.
This is very warm. Just to let you know, this is very warm.
I know. We've had many friends like saying, you know, this is getting hotter, and it's your energy. It's our vessel, and we're talking about these things more often. And that I think is going to be our next conversation. We'll share a little bit more about spirituality and listening to source and light and our angels and all the beautiful things that we should talk about that we never do. And I don't want this conversation to end, but as you know, we never say goodbye. We say a biento. But our sign off to you is sending you blessings and intentions of gratitude, light, and love from our family to you, because you are our family. You are our sister, and we love you. We love you. We love you.
We love you.
I love you guys.
Bye. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Soon to hug again.
Yes, soon to hug again. I promise you this.
You better, because I miss those.
It's coming, and Marla knows it's okay. Bye. Mwah.